Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys I'm going to be profiling for you my Yosenju deck. This is a deck that I was playing the heck out of this time last year, and I played it all the way up, I guess you could say, till November really, because when the big ships came out and targeting became really bad, it was kind of downhill from there. Granted, saying all that, and then you also had Towers Turbo that really kind of put the nail in the coffin for this deck, but saying all those bad things, this deck is actually a really good, solid deck that can do very well. It's very consistent. It's very powerful. It's stunny. It's an amazing deck, and I've loved playing this deck because I'm a trap-heavy player, and I also like stun-esque decks like Gravekeepers and Six Samurais nowadays and things of that nature. So I really like this deck for that reason. It has really got a power boost with Rippling Mirror Force and Carved Demise, especially Rippling Mirror Force. That card has helped this deck out so much with the problem it was having. But without further ado, guys, we'll get into the deck profile, and I'll talk about the new cards and the things I've changed up in this deck. I've profiled this deck a lot last year on this channel, but it's been a while since we profiled it. But without further ado, let's get into the deck, guys. So first off, we run our 3 Yosenju, 1, 3 Yosenju, 2, and 3 Yosenju, 3. So, what do all these guys do here? So, these are pretty much like your brothers, I guess you could say, along with Tusket, which we'll talk about differently. So, Yosenju, 1 is pretty much your compulsory evacuation device on wheels. You can target one of your opponents. If you have another Yosenju monster out, you can target your opponent's monster and compulse that monster back to their hand. Yosenju, 2 here, the blue guy, which looks like he's wielding a lightsaber, but he looks awesome. By the way, Yosenju, 1 is my favorite, but Yosenju, 2 down here, he pretty much can attack the opponent directly. He can lower his attack and attack your opponent directly. He gets some more. They all get benefits from Tenki because their attack goes up, but 2 regular attack wise will have 19 attack if you have just one Tenki out, so he'll become your biggest beat stick. Yosenju, 3 is your masked searcher for the deck. He's pretty much like a Stratos or a searcher for pretty much all your Yosenju cards. He can search out any of your Yosenju cards that have Yosenju in their name. It's really amazing. As long as if one of your other Yosenju monsters inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you get to search out a Yosenju card. So really good card here, Yosenju, 3. I really like this card a lot. Really comes in handy. Usually, I'll just say this, depending upon your hand and your scenario, you want to get to these guys as fast as you can. Definitely your 3, and sometimes your 2 or 1, depending upon the scenario or the deck you're facing against. You just need to get to those cards very quickly. Then we run 2 Yosenju Tusket, as I've always called him. I don't know why I called him Tusket. It's probably Tujigigi. I can't pronounce him. I always call him Tusket for some reason. I don't know why. He's pretty much like honest for the deck, and he is the only one that cannot normal summon another Yosenju monster. So like all these other Yosenju monsters, you can go Yosenju, 3, Yosenju, 2, Yosenju, 3, Yosenju, 1, whatever ratio you want to go. You could literally, go 3, 2, 3, 1. So that's how you can do that. Tusket cannot do that. Tusket cannot do that. But, so you always want to summon him at the end. But the cool thing Tusket can do is he can be honest in hand, which you rarely use, or on the field, so you can have him on the field, give you one of your other Yosenju monsters another 1,000 attack, and it can help you run over things. It really does, especially if you have Tenki on the field. They can become big beat sticks that can run over things and get around things, or end games that way, because I've ended games, my opponent may have a very strong board, but I have 2 and Tusket out in the field, and I have maybe a Tenki out in the field, and I'm like, okay, transfer to this, half his attack, and go for game. So, and then sometimes I've gone for Cowboy after that, and then game. So it does happen, and very good card. Definitely not a 3 of anymore, but I definitely like his 2 up in the deck. Next, I run one Yosenju Arch L and one Thunder King Tenki, or Thunder King Ryo. I don't know why I said Thunder King Tenki. So I used to run 2 Yosenju Arch L because I ran It's actually a really good card, but because I also like this card a lot, Yosenju Secret Moves, which is pretty much like Solemn Judgment for the deck. It's kind of, hard to get off, but if you can get it off, it can win you games straight up. And the cool thing is that you can have this in your Pendulum Zone, and you can set your Yosenju Secret Moves, and then they'll be live, because this is a Yosenju monster on the field, technically. So it's really awesome. You can easily search it out though with Yosenju Kama's 3's effect. So you can go for this, search it out. If you have a secret move, set the secret moves with some other traps, you're good to go. You may want to take it out, the Thunder King Ryo out, and add another Yosenju L or another secret moves. It's up to you, the player, to decide what ratio of L's and secret moves you run. I'll personally say from personal experience, if you run 3 secret moves, it's maybe best to run 2 Yosenju Arch L, because it just makes and helps out a lot. Usually I use him in the Pendulum Zone. Rarely do I summon him on the field so he can come in defense position and use his other effect. Usually I just like him in the Pendulum Zone because he can make secret moves live, and secret moves is a great card. Thunder King Ryo, he's not good out of turn 1. Besides turn 1, he's not that really good. But I do find uses for him. He does come in handy. I know a lot of people have taken him out of the deck. They don't feel like he's good anymore. But considering how much back row this deck runs, I just couldn't run it. I've run this card in the deck since day 1, and I really like him in the deck. And every time I get him in my hand, I'm like, wins you games, comes in handy. So I definitely like the one Thunder King Ryo still in the deck. You can take it out if you want to, but I still like it because this is a stun-based deck and it does come in handy. So that's just me. Granted, we have I think 14 monsters with 13 monsters, and that's a pretty high monster count. And I'll talk about the reason why that I run other ratios of cards later on. So next up, we run 3 Fire Formation Tenki. Staple in this deck. It's pretty much rotated for the deck. Gives you attack boosts to use Yosenju monsters. Helps search out any of your Beast Warrior type monsters. So definitely 3 Tenki. Next, I run 3 Pod Duality. Consistency, 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 consistency. Even before Carved Demise came out, just using Fire Formation Tenki and 3 Pod Duality made this deck very, very consistent. This deck really doesn't go into the extra deck, but it's very consistent at what it does. So definitely 3 Pod Duality, a staple in this deck, because you don't really need to go into the extra deck, and you never really special summon. Next, I run 2 Carved Demise. This is something I know people are going to question me on and say, Seto, you should run 3 Carved Demise. It's a great card in this deck. It's a broken card in this deck. I get it. I get that I can summon all my Yosenju monsters, okay? So I can go comma 3, comma 3. Let me put this down here. Comma 3, comma 1, comma 2, whatever. And then I can activate Carved Demise, discard, draw 3 cards, set those trap cards. And then what I can do again is, activate Carved Demise's effect first. Discarding all cards in my hand, which I have 0. Then I can activate the Yosenju's effect and bounce them back to my hand. I get that. It's a great card in the deck. But the deck's already consistent on its own with Pod Duality and Tenki. This just adds more consistency and makes the deck a little bit more turbo. But I will say this. I played the heck out of this deck since probably April. And I will tell you this. I tried 3 Carved Demise. It really was too much. I always found that 3rd Carved Demise was dead in my hand. 2 of them was all I needed. I needed just 1, and I would win the duel usually to go off. I didn't need 2. I didn't need 3. I would usually, if I had 3, so imagine there was a 3rd one here. I would draw it. Okay, set 1 of them. Activate Carved Demise. Go off. I found myself running out of back row space, or I was drawing too many monsters. So what did I do? I cut down the monster count in the deck, so I wouldn't have to discard as much. But there's pros and cons to that, and I just found at the end of the day, me personally playing this deck a lot and playtesting, that 2 Carved Demise was all I need. I would definitely say it's a staple card in the deck, but it's up to you, the player, to decide if you want to run 3 of this card or you want to run 2 of it. I would say at minimum you need to run 2. If you really want to go for it, go for 3, but I found 3 had more downsides than running 2. 2 was perfect, I found. 3 was a little bit too much. And that's just from playtesting a lot. And just from experience and playing this deck. it became a problematic card. And you're drawing monsters like, I'll be activating card demise. Oh, I draw 2 Yosenju monsters and I've already normal summoned, fudge sickles. I'm up the creek without a paddle now, and that's kind of cost me the game. So, just gonna say that. It's a great card, a staple in the deck, but it's not the be-all, end-all card in the deck. Okay? Just gonna say that. So people understand. I personally find that Rippling Mirror Force is a little bit better than Card Demise. Which is one of the reasons I run 3 Rippling Mirror Force and 2 Card Demise. I took the 3rd Rippling Mirror Force, 3rd Card Demise out for the 3rd Rippling Mirror Force eventually. Next, 2 Mystical Space Typhoon. You could run Twin Twister in this deck, and if you're going to run 3 Card Demise, I would say probably run the 2 Twin Twister because that one of those Card Demises is going to be dead in your hand, believe me, and it's not fun to draw into Card Demise, into Card Demise. It's kind of, you have to set up the plays again to make sure it goes right. And then you gotta make sure, your Yosenju monsters go on the field and they don't go Effect Veiler, Notice, something stupid that you have to wait another turn to use, Card Demise again, which does happen. But MST, I definitely like it as a 2 of in the deck. You don't get no benefits of sending monsters to the graveyard, so MST is perfectly fine in the deck as a 2 of. That's why I chose it over Twin Twister. You can do it the other way around, but it's up to you. For 1 of spells, 1 Dimensional Fissure, 1 Regeki, and 1 Dark Hole. Regeki clears the board, non-targeting removal, spam your Yosenjus, attack your opponent directly. It's good stuff. Dark Hole, 90% of the time, 95% of this time, unless it's Thunder King Ryo, you're going to have a clear board on your turn. So just go Dark Hole the field, who cares about how much they plus, because you're going to end that game right now. Dimensional Fissure is something you could side deck if you want to, but I started main decking it again recently because it actually turned out to be a very good card still, and was very helpful in most matchups I was facing, even at their local level and regional level recently. I took this to regionals just to play test around with. But yeah, definitely those are my 3 staple 1-ofs. For my traps, we run 3 Rippling Mirror Force. Drowning Mirror Force, not Rippling. Why do I keep saying Rippling Mirror Force? I don't know. Drowning Mirror Force is what I meant earlier. I do apologize. So when I was talking about Card Demise, I meant Drowning Mirror Force. I don't know why I keep saying Rippling Mirror Force, because I think that was the OCG name for it. But whatever. Staple card at 3 of in this deck. I have to say that. Amazing card. Number 1, because your opponent's always going to try to attack you directly. You're usually going to have a clear board where you're going to be wide open for attacks. And this card is clutch in those moments. It wins you games, and your opponent's going to have a hard time Twin Twistering it because you're going to have a lot of back row back there. They're going to have to guess and choose which one is this card. And believe me, most of the time I found that you running 3 of it is amazing. It's just a great card. It's most of the time going to be live. It has won me games because I'm almost dead. I activate this, then I go off with my Yosenjus and I kill them right there on my turn. Definitely a staple of, as a 3 of, Drowning Mirror Force. Amazing, amazing card. If you don't know what it does, I'll read it for you. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, shuffle all attack position monsters your opponent controls into their deck. It's pretty much non-targeting, and when people start noticing I'm playing this card, they start putting 1 monster in defense position because they're kind of scared of this card. So, that's just me. For other traps we run, guys, we run 2 Yosenju Secret Moves. It's kind of like I said earlier, it's Solemn Judgment for the deck. 3 of could be a little bit too much, but it's definitely, I like it as a 2 of. Some people don't even run the card, they think it's bad. Some people only run 2 of it, some people run 1 of it. I personally like 2 of it nowadays. I used to run 3, but I like 2 because it's just a powerful card that if you play your deck right, it's going to be live. I'm just telling you, it's going to be live and going to win you those clutch moments. 2 lose 1 turns. In this deck, it just slows down the duel, brings it down to your level, and with Rippling Mirror Force and all these other traps and stun-esque cards, it just slows the duel down to a point where you can just beat your opponent into a pulp. And 2 lose 1 turns is good. I used to run 3. I find that 2 is better nowadays. For 1 of traps, we run 1 Macrocosmos, staple in this deck, no matter what. 1 Bottomless Trap Hole. 1 Vandy's Emptiness. I remember back when this card was at 3, I used to run 3 Vandy's Emptiness, And before it got hit, because it was still at 3-up for a month or two after Yosenju's came out. That was good times. That was really good times. You go Yosenju, flip the Vanity's Emptiness, and you're just like poking your opponent to death. Yeah, definitely 3-ups in the deck. Macrocosmos is great. Bottomless is great. Vanity's Emptiness is staple, I find. So yeah. Because you don't special summon at all, really. You really don't need to go into the extra deck. It's like Gravekeepers. You don't really need to go into it. You rely on your main deck. Then for other 1-ups, we run 1 Torrential, and I run the Solemn Brigade. So, Torrential, I like it in the deck. It's a good reactive trap. You're always going to have a clear board. It's non-targeting effect, removal. As you notice, I have a lot of non-targeting removal in the deck in Dark Hole, Regeki, and Torrential. So there's a lot of outs you can get around cards that do say that you can't target them. So that's kind of nice. But I do like it as a 1-up in the deck, and you can bait your opponent out into a position where they're going to get blown away. 1 Solemn Warning and the 2 Solemn Strike. Beyond the 2 Solemn Strike, I like it. Staple traps I find in this day and age in Yu-Gi-Oh! I find right now. Those are definitely staples, along with Bottomless, perhaps. But that's just my opinion. Next, first Exceed monsters we run in the extra deck. 2 Lightning Chidori. Like I said earlier, you don't really go into the extra deck a lot, but when you do it for a reason. 2 Lightning Chidori, it's a great card, amazing card, probably one of the best Exceeds monsters that ever came out in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I find. Probably in the top 10 or top 8, I would say. But definitely a great card. Definitely a staple as the 2 in the deck. You could run 1, you can get away with 1 and 1, but I like 2. Just some other generic Beast and Wind support cards that I do run in this deck, because we do run Beast Warriors, and they are Wind attributes. So one Brotherhood of the Fire King, 1 Brother of Fire Fist Tiger King. This is for your searching out your Tenkies. 1 Diamond Dire Wolf, 1 Bujin Kajisuchi. This card comes in handy. 1 Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. This card's good because you can easily go for it, and a lot of decks don't have a main out for this. This card comes in handy. Diamond Dire Wolf is great in this deck, and Brotherhood of the Fire Fist is good as well. These are just some other cards you run. Next up, we run Heartland Drago and Cowboy. Some people like running double Cowboy because it does come in handy and wins you games in this deck. I definitely say at least you have to run Cowboy in this deck because it wins you games a lot more than normal decks. Heartland Drago can be live because of Tenki and other things, and Yosenju Arch L, so really good card. Other generic rank 4s we run: Castel, 101, Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon. So this is Dark Rebellion XYZ, 101 in Castel. Giant Hand, number 106 Giant Hand here, guys. For some other traps we run Traptrix Rafflesia, Abyss Dweller, and 103 Ragnar Zero. These are just situational cards that you sometimes go into depending upon the situation, quote unquote. So Abyss Dweller, Traptrix, and number 103. So those are just situational cards, guys. So I hope all of you enjoyed this deck profile. It's a very fun deck. It's a very good deck, and I really enjoy playing it, guys. And it's consistent. And like I said, I personally find that I only need to run 2-card Demise. I know people are going to probably get mad at me for that, but I'm going to tell you, I played this deck a lot recently, and I only needed 2-card Demise. I didn't need 3. 3 was just overkill. I know people like making decks turbo, but I just found that I already had enough consistency in card Demise was just like a cherry on top. That, yeah, it was nice, but it wasn't, necessary all the time, and there was a lot of downside I found, and there were other cards I wanted to run besides the 3rd card Demise. And I ran into a lot of problems where card Demise was actually a dead card and wasn't helpful at all. It was more of a hindrance, but that's just me. But till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, go Yosenjus. I've always loved this deck, and stun-esque decks and anti-meta type of decks. I've always loved that type of stuff. So till next time, guys, take care, everybody, and good luck dueling to all of you.